Everybody, it's Emily at Dark Schooling, and I really wanted to do a tier ranking video. So today we're going to be tier ranking all of the Stephen King novels that I've read. We're getting experimental here. I've never done this before. I had to have my kids show me what to do because I did not know how people were doing this, and I'm still not certain that I'm gonna do it right, but I really wanted to do this. So I have created a tier ranking tier list for all of the Stephen King novels that I have read. So I've got my system here, so I'm your biggest fan, MOON, that spells great, Gaunt could convince me, If Only the End Didn't Suck, Worthy of Carrie's Destruction at Prom, The Turtle Couldn't Save It, and then everything that I haven't read yet, which is still quite a lot. I feel like I'm pretty well read when it comes to Stephen King, but there's still a lot that I haven't gotten to, so that'll go in the bottom. So those are my rankings. So we're just gonna see what happens here, and you can come along with me for the ride. If it's a mess, it's a mess. Let's go ahead, and we're just gonna. I found this tier that already had this tier list that already had all the Stephen King books in here. So we're just going to go from the beginning. I think these are in order of publication. So let's start with Carrie. I can't remember if Carrie was either the first or the second Stephen King book that I ever read, but I know it was early on. I was very young when I read Carrie the first time, and I don't know that I fully appreciated it, but I've come back to it since. So I think for me, this one's gonna go in MOON, that spells great. It's a really solid book, and I really do like it, but I don't know that it's top tier for me. So okay, next up is Salem's Lot, which I feel like people are gonna get mad at me, but I read this, I think I've read it twice. I didn't like it at all the first time, and the second time I read it, I don't remember it. And it's been 20 years, at least, since I've read it. And I just feel like this one did not leave a strong impression on me. And I've seen the movie. I've seen the 1970s version, I've seen the one that they did in either the 90s or early 2000s, and I've seen the newest one. And to me, it's just very mediocre vampire movie stuff. So I don't have strong feelings for this one. I don't think it's the worst thing I've read, but I kind of feel like it goes with Worthy of Carrie's Destruction at Prom. I'm so sorry. It's just, for me, a very blah story, and it's not very memorable. I have not read Rage, I don't think. It's not familiar to me. Okay, The Shining. I have read The Shining multiple times, and it is one of my favorite Stephen King books. I have very fond memories reading it. This was one of my early King books I read when I was either in middle school or early on in high school, and I just really like it. So I'm gonna put it in MOON, that spells great. Okay, The Stand. I've said before, this is one of my favorites. I really want to reread it sometime because it's been a long time, at least a decade, and I really want to reread it because there's a new book coming out that is a bunch of horror authors writing an homage to The Stand, and I am so excited to read that. I want to reread The Stand first. So this is going to happen in the very near future, probably early on in 2025. I'm going to do a Stand reread. Maybe I'll do a reading vlog for that. I don't know. But yeah, this is going up in I Am Your Biggest Fan. I love The Stand. It's one of I think his best works. It's such a grand story in scope. I love a good apocalyptic tale. So I think for me that is one of his absolute best. What is this one? Night Shift. I'm gonna need to put my glasses on. Some of these are hard to see as I'm old. Okay, so Night Shift. Again, I know I've read it, and I don't have strong memories of it. I think I'm gonna put it in Gaunt could convince me, because I think he could. I think I probably, if I were to pick this up right now, I think I would enjoy it. I just don't really remember it. Okay, The Long Walk I read relatively recently. I think I read this either this year or last year. Might have been last year, because I pulled Stephen King out of my TBR jar. So I read it relatively recently, so it's fresh in my mind. I know they're adapting it, and I'm so curious, because this is one of his books that I would have said is not adaptable. But I said that about Gerald's Game, and look at how good that movie was. So like, I'm so curious to see what they do with this. But for me, this one is gonna go in, nope. It's gonna go up here in MOON. That spells great, because I think it's a really interesting story. I would like to have had a little more detail on what the heck is going on, and I feel like the movie might flesh that out a little. I don't know, but I think it's a really solid book. Like, I love a good dystopian, and that is a really good dystopian. The Dead Zone. I don't know, guys. This is one that I did not really like, and I don't know if it's because I saw the movie first and I don't like the movie at all. Like, and again, this could be a situation where I just need to come back to it now, because this is all from like my early 20s. I did not have strong feelings about it. Like, I didn't hate it, but I don't really like it. So I'm so sorry for people who love The Dead Zone. Don't attack me, but it didn't really do a lot for me. So, I don't know. Firestarter, though, on the other hand, is one that I have very, like, fond feelings for. Like, I really like it. I love the movie, the original movie with Drew Barrymore. I think it's just really good. I really like the book a lot. Like, I hated the remake. But, where did this go? I think this is, I'm gonna put it in Gaunt Could Convince Me, because while I really like it, I don't know if it's on the same level as like The Shining and Carrie, but I do really, really like it. Okay, I cannot read what this title is. Danse Macabre, I've never read. I own it. I've just never gotten to it. I've also never read Roadwork, so I'm going to put that down there. Okay, so Cujo, I have read. And it's another one that I don't really remember all that well. Like, I've seen the movie too, and I feel like the movie is what sticks in my head more than the book. I know it's like one of those isolated stories, kind of like Gerald's Game, where the whole thing is told like trapped in a car, and the whole story is just like internal, but it's not my favorite. I'm gonna put it in Gaunt Could Convince Me, because I feel like if I reread it now, I might like it a little bit more, but I don't really have like strong feelings about it. Okay, The Gunslinger. Don't hate me, but the turtle can't save this one. I don't like it. I've tried so many times. I think I've read The Gunslinger like 4 times, hoping that I could somehow convince myself that I was gonna read the Dark Tower series. I own all of the books. Do not like it. I hate The Gunslinger with like a fiery burning passion. It's not a good book. I cannot get into it, and don't know why I keep trying. I finally decided to stop because I was just like, it's never gonna happen. So I'm sorry, but no. Nope, turtle can't save it. Don't like it. Never want to see it again. I don't think I've read The Running Man. If I have, I don't remember it at all. So I'm going to put that there. Okay, Different Seasons is one of my absolute favorite of his like short story collections. This is 4 novellas, And every single novella in this collection is just perfection. They are all so good. And I just think it's a really solid collection. So I love it. And it is one of my favorites of his. So that goes up there. And I'm your biggest fan. Pet Sematary is one of my other favorites. I'm going to put this in M-O-O-N. That spells great. I think Pet Sematary is really solid. Like, it is such a great story about grief and like the inability we have of letting go. I just think it's a really good story. Yeah, I think it's one of his better books. I have not read Cycle of the Werewolf, but we do own it, and it's my daughter's. We got her a copy of it because Silver Bullet is one of her absolute favorite movies. So I wanted her to have like the base story, what it came from. Christine. Christine is like such an interesting story. I don't know where to put it. I think I'm going to put it in Gaunt Could Convince Me. It's definitely not as good as like Pet Sematary and Carrie and The Shining and The Long Walk, but it still deserves to be like in my favorites, you know, because it is a really good story. Like, I don't like the movie. The movie's kind of dumb, but I think the story works so much better in novel form than it does in the movie. Have not read you, so let's put you here. No, it's not where I put you. And I have not read you. Sorry, I've not read The Eyes of the Dragon. That is one that I really want to get to, but I'm scared of it now because I'm like, if I hated The Gunslinger and all of that so much, will I like his other fantasy? I don't know. Thinner, for me, is fine. Like, I'm going to put it in Gaunt Could Convince Me because I think it's a perfectly good story. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't stand out for me. Skeleton Crew, again, Gaunt Could Convince Me. I feel like there's going to be a lot in this category because, like, it's fine. Like, I liked it. I don't have strong feelings for it. But it is one of my favorite books of all time. Like, hold on, I gotta scoot you up. I think it's one of like his absolute best. I think Stephen King is at his best when he's writing a story about kids in like a group and nostalgia. Like, those two things he's just really good at. And yeah, I just think it is, I've waxed poetic already many a time about how much I love it. So I don't need to do that again, but like, it's one of my favorites. I have read The Drawing of the Three, and I'm going to put it right here in The Turtle Couldn't Save It because that's as far as I made it into the Dark Tower. I thought surely the next book will improve, and that is when it'll kick in and I'll love it. I don't know what I'm missing. I don't understand how it's such a beloved series because to me, it was terrible. It was awful. Like, I don't like it. And I don't know what key component I'm missing. I don't know. It does not work for me though. I'm so sorry for people who are like devoted fans of the Dark Tower series. It is just, it's not for me. And don't ask me why, because I could never put it into words specifically what I don't like, but just like overall, it is not enjoyable. Okay, Misery. I'm going to put Misery in, oh goodness, I don't know where to put it. I'm going to put it in God Could Convince Me. Okay, and I'm going to try to explain myself, and I might move it, but I love Misery as a concept. I love the idea of this book because that is where I think it's really good. What I don't like is how unlikable our main character is and how we're kind of stuck with him the whole book. And like, it is miserable. It's depressing. Like, it's sad and it's suffocating, and I don't know. I mean, it's supposed to be, right? Like, those are the things you're supposed to be. I think you're supposed to be rooting for the main guy though. And for me, I just like didn't like him. Like, I think the movie version makes him a little more sympathetic and a little more likable. So what I think about the movie of Misery, I think that I would put in M-O-O-N. That spells great. But the book for me, I think is like a tier below that. Like, it's good, but it isn't my favorite King. And I think it's because of how much I dislike the main character. He's just so unlikable. And I think, like, I kind of almost got to the point where I was rooting for Annie Wilkes to just take him out because, like, I don't know what to do with him anymore. So yeah, the Tommyknockers. I actually kind of like the Tommyknockers, if I'm being honest. Like, I know a lot of people hate this book, and I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's not one of my favorites, but I did really enjoy myself reading it. Like, it's kind of a stupid story, and it's a weird, like, alien invasion situation, but, like, it's not bad. Am I gonna run out of space in this category? I'm gonna put it in Gaunt Could Convince Me. I feel like it's a perfectly good story. Like, I had a good time. The Dark Half. I don't have strong memories of this. I'm pretty sure I did read it, though. Oh gosh, I'm like running out of room here, but I'm gonna put The Dark Half in Gaunt Could Convince Me because I thought it was an interesting concept. I don't know what this one is. 4 Past Midnight. Have I read that? Let me look it up quick. I don't think I've read 4 Past Midnight. I just looked it up to see like what stories are included, and I don't think I've read this, so I'm gonna put that in unread. Needful Things is one of my absolute favorite Stephen King. I think it is, I'm gonna put it in I'm Your Biggest Fan. I think it's one of my favorites. I love the concept so much of this like devil store owner like selling you all the things that you want the most for a price, and that price is usually some terrible deed you have to do to earn it. I just think it's great watching these people like devolve into chaos because of these little items that they believe they need. I don't know. I love that book so much. I love the movie. I think the movie is good. Not as good as the book. Although I am thankful that the movie leaves out the giant vomit fest in the church, because I'm glad that I didn't have to see that actually happening outside of my imagination, because ugh. But besides that, it's a really good book. Okay, this is unread. I'm going to run out of room in the unread, because that's one of the Dark Tower books, right? Okay, so Gerald's Game is going to go up in, in M-O-O-N. That spells great. I really liked this book a lot. I didn't expect to. I started it and thought, oh, is this like an infidelity book? I'm not sure I want to read a whole book like that. But it ended up being so much more than I thought it was going to be. And I just really enjoyed the story. I loved the Mike Flanagan movie adaptation of it. I thought that was fantastic. I want Mike Flanagan to make all of the Stephen King adaptations going forward. I think we can trust him to handle this. I think that would be great. I don't think I've ever read Dolores Claiborne. Nightmares and Dreamscapes is going in Gaunt Could Convince Me. I have read all of that, and I really liked it. It was a solid collection. I'm going to put Insomnia in Gaunt Could Convince Me. Insomnia, I thought was a really interesting story. I read this many, many years ago. I want to reread it. But this one is about like elderly people who can't sleep and they go on a weird adventure. That's really all I can remember. But I have like good memories of reading it, so I liked it. I have not read Rose Madder. I don't know what you are, but I don't think I've read you. Oh, good. That's what happens? Excellent. Okay. I have not read Desperation. Ooh, The Green Mile. That's going, hold on, let me scooch. That's going in I'm Your Biggest Fan. The Green Mile is, I think, the moment where I realized that Stephen King could do so much more than just horror. And I should have known that already, but I read this, I think right after the whole, like, all 6 novellas came out, because I got it as a bind-up when I read it. And I just thought it was such a beautiful story, and I didn't expect it. Like, I went in thinking it was going to be some kind of spooky some situation, like his typical horror, but it's not. And it's beautiful. Like, I think it's legitimately like a beautiful piece of literature, and I really enjoyed it. And I also really liked the movie. Wizards and Glass, I have not read. I have not read Bag of Bones, although I want to say I started it and DNF'd it. Same with The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. I started reading that and did not finish it. So I'm going to put it in unread. Not read Hearts in Atlantis. I have read On Writing, and I thought it was fine. I'm going to put it in Gaunt Could Convince Me. I thought it was an interesting book. But I don't really have like strong feelings for it. Dreamcatchers. I'm about to be obnoxious because I usually do not rank or rate things that I have not finished. This is a DNF. But let me tell you how horrific this book opening was and why I DNF'd it. So I think I've talked before on here about the fact that I have ulcerative colitis and I have a lot of like stomach issues. And the opening of this book features a scene in which a man is, for better terms, shitting out an alien. Like something kind of like in Alien where you have the chest burster scene. This came out on a toilet. He crapped out an alien that ripped its way out of his behind. And oh my God, when I tell you that I read this at the height of like me being sick, and I had to stop. I put the book away, and I will never pick this book up again. I can't. I'm gonna put it in The Turtle Couldn't Save It, because I literally could never read this again. That was so horrific, and I don't even like thinking about it. The fact that I just had to talk about that right now is traumatic. So I'm ridiculous, but like that was too much for me. I'm sorry. All the triggers, I could not. I have not read that. I want to go back and try to reread From a Buick 8 again, because this is one that I started and didn't finish. And I don't even know why I DNF'd it. I don't know what was going on in my head. I don't remember. But I don't remember disliking it. I also haven't read Everything's Eventual, or The Wolves of Kella, or that, because it's not, I don't read the Dark Tower series. I haven't read this one. Okay, Cell. I'm going to put Cell in If Only the End Didn't Suck, because the end of this book was so bad. Like, the first half is so good. It was a really solid, like, zombie apocalypse story. Like, so good. And then, like, midway, it's like he gave up. I don't even know what happened. It's like the whole tone shifts, and then we're just sort of there watching this play out, and it's boring, and it's not good. And I don't understand what happened. But I remember being mad. Like, what happened? Why isn't it good anymore? Like, it doesn't make sense. I have not read Lissy's Story, but I really want to. I've heard good things. I have not read Doomickey. I have read Just After Sunset, and I'm going to have to scoot up. I think I'm going to put it in Gaunt Could Convince Me. I thought it was a really good collection, but I don't have strong feelings about it. Under the Dome is going in If Only the End Didn't Suck, because this is a book that I was so fully invested in, and the end is so stupid. And like, I don't know why the end is like that. Like, when I tell you that I was so mad, I almost threw the book. Because it's so stupid. Like, oh my God. Such a good story though, before you get to the end. Like, I almost want to like pretend that the end didn't even happen. Full Dark, No Stars is gonna go in MOON. That spells great because this is a solid collection of stories. Like, I love horror about people being terrible. And that is what this collection is. Like, that's what a lot of his stuff is, but like, he does get into the supernatural a lot. This is a series of stories that are just like, these people suck and they do bad things. And I just think that it's a really good collection. I'm in the middle of this book. I'm going to put it in unread, but I'm hoping to finish it before the end of the year. And if I were to put it in a category right now, it would probably be in MOON. That spells great because it's really good right now. But since I haven't finished it, I don't feel comfortable doing that. So we're just going to put it in unread for now. I don't know where to rank Dr. Sleep. I'm kind of torn between Gaunt Could Convince Me and If Only the End Didn't Suck. And I think I'm going to tentatively put it in If Only the End Didn't Suck. Because this book, I don't think we needed it. And I'm all for authors going, hey, I want to go back and reflect more on this one particular character and write them a new book. You should be able to do that 100%. I'm not saying this shouldn't have been written. I'm just saying that I didn't need it. I didn't need this book. I love The Shining. I think The Shining is great, and I do love the character of Danny Torrance. I just don't know that this book works because the main girl we're supposed to be rooting for is too strong. And I think at no point in this book was I worried about her. And I think if you don't worry about the characters in a horror novel, then like, what are you reading? Like, what is the point? Like, you're supposed to be concerned and like maybe nervous and tense that something bad is going to happen to them. And I just never felt that because she was like too powerful. And the group of like, I don't even know what you would call them. Are they vampires? Like sympathy vampires? What do you call that? But like, they were not worthy of her. Like they were not strong enough to defeat her. So like the whole book kind of felt silly and pointless to me. Like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I don't think I'll ever reread it. I have not read this one or this one. I DNF'd Revival. I haven't read this. Have not read this. Or this. I haven't read most of his new stuff. I have to be honest. Like, I just haven't gotten to it yet. I want to. Okay, I have read Elevation. And I'm gonna say Worthy of Carrie's Destruction at Prom. I just kind of thought it was blah. It was too similar in concept to Thinner. But for like random reasons. Like in Thinner, you know, he's cursed. And that is what's happening to him. In this, it was just sort of completely random. And like, I don't know why it happened. It's never explained. It just happens. I don't know. And I didn't love it. I don't know. It was not a favorite. Have not read that one. The Institute, I'm going to put all the way up at the tippy top because The Institute was so freaking good. This is another like group of kids situation, and I think he does such a good job with that. I love the way he writes children. I don't know. He does such a good job with it. And the kids in this book are going through so much. I love stories like this, where you're like following a group of children or characters who are in a situation where they don't fully understand what's happening to them or why it's happening. And they're like being studied scientifically and like tested on and stuff like that. And like they have to find a way to break out and save themselves. I love this so much. It's such a really good story. And I cannot wait for the adaptation to come out. And Ben Barnes is in it. Oh my God. I could not be more excited. I've not read most of these. Nope. Did I lose Gwendy's button box? I just don't see it now. What happened to that? Am I just missing it? It should be here, right? And yet it is not. Oh, it's right here. My brain. Oh my gosh. Okay, I accidentally put Gwendy's button box in unread. I have read Gwendy's button box, and I would put it in MOON. That spells great. I read this the same time I read The Long Walk, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought it was a really, really fun story about a girl who's given this object that she's told she can use to like save the world, and she doesn't really know what she's meant to do with it. Like, how will it affect her and that kind of thing. And it's a really good coming of age story about like how this object has affected her life. So I really liked it. And I have the whole series. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So I haven't read this one. And I haven't read any of his brand new books. I feel like I want to read Holly. I just don't know how to go about it because I know there's a whole bunch of things I have to read before it. And I really wanted to get to You Like It Darker this year, but I don't think it's going to happen now. Okay, so that is my ranking. So I guess this is my, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, my top 6 Stephen King novels are The Stand, different seasons, It, Needful Things, The Green Mile, and The Institute. I would have to go back and rewatch my top 5 Stephen King video that I made way back when I first started this channel and compare and see if I've like, how that has changed, because I don't even remember what I talked about in that video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you stuck it out to the end. I know it's a long one, but I had a lot of fun pulling that together, so I hope you enjoyed it too. Let me know in the comments your opinions on my rankings. Let me know too, if you are a Stephen King fan, what is your favorite Stephen King novel? I would love to know, and we can chat about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Happy reading. Bye!